Teso Santio. There are three kinds of peace, three things which can quell disturbances, which can quiet disturbing things. Three means for becoming quiet. And these are Samuti Santi, Tadanga Santi, and Achanta Santi. So this is how they are listed in the text. Samuti Santi means what people agree upon as a convention. For example, there is Jiva Atta and Parama Atta, a soul and a supreme being. People think this and they agree upon it as a belief. The essence of Samuti Santi are 62 kinds of views. And of these views, the most important is Attavada, the belief that holds there is a soul or self, Atta. This is also called Sakaya Detti, which means on top of what is really there, on top of what is evident, that is mind and matter, nama and rupa, not knowing these as they are, but instead believing there's something additional on top of that. So Samuti Santi arises. And if one accepts this type of belief, then one won't know the qualities of Achanta Santi, which is far, far better than this Samuti Santi. Achanta Santi can be translated as ultimate peace or as perpetual peace, lasting peace. This Achanta Santi is extremely praiseworthy, and in this hot world of ours, the Buddha sought this peace, Achanta Santi, and he found it and revealed it himself. This peace goes beyond the limit of good and bad, and it reaches the other side. So it is beyond the limit, and in essence, it is Nibbana, this Achanta Santi. So Sayadaw yesterday when he spoke, he didn't go in the traditional order of describing these three. He skipped over Tadanga Santi and went to Achanta Santi. And this is because if we're going to do a task, but we don't know what the goal is, then we won't feel very inspired to do the work. So in order to inspire the yogis for doing this, Sayadaw spoke yesterday about two kinds of happiness, Vedayita Sukha and Avedayita Sukha. The happiness that comes from experiencing sense objects, and the happiness that is completely free of experiencing any sense object. And Sayadaw used analogies to explain about these. Those who can reflect will understand that happiness involving sense pleasures is dangerous and has faults. So this Achanta Santi, on the other hand, is peaceful. So we should make this our goal. And in order to get there, we need to walk along the path of Satipatthana, or the path of Vipassana. This is the path that the Buddha paved. The Buddha opened the road of the Satipatthana path, Vipassana path. And when we walk along this path, when our knowledge becomes mature, then each grade of the kilesas, the gross level, the medium level, and the refined level, will all be stilled, quieted, and they will become peaceful. So without Tadanga Santi, one will not be able to get to Achanta Santi. So today, Sayadaw would like to speak about Tadanga Santi, how it is explained theoretically, and how it is experienced in the practice. He will combine these two. Tadanga Santi is made up of 3 words: Ta, Anga, and Santi. Santi means calming. It means a means for calming, or something which can make other things calm, quiet, peaceful. So what is it that is calmed or made peaceful? What is made peaceful are things which are not good, which are unbeneficial, which lack virtues. And there are three of these. So transgressive acts, violent acts, and second of all, not controlling one's mind, and third of all, ignorance, or knowing things wrongly. So this is what is meant by the word anga. All these things are parts of what is bad. So they're in 3, if you look at it in terms of 3 parts, it's transgressive kilesas, and kilesas that exist in the mind, pariyotana kilesas, and the latent ones. So these are the parts, the things which are being quelled or being calmed, being stilled. So means for making things calm or quiet, things which cause us to be degraded, things which cause harm to us. So that's the meaning of Anga Santi, this calming or stilling of these parts. So what is it that we use to do the calming? Well, we use, that's what's meant by the word ta. It means this part, or some part. So it is qualities which are clean, qualities which are good, something that has the ability to dispel disturbances. So this is, in Pali, this is called guna. And maybe you would translate it as ability or quality or virtue. So when one uses these abilities, then they arise. So here's an example. Killing. Killing is bad. This is something bad. And it is done by those who have no moral shame or moral fear or no ability to put their self in another's place. So a person who does such an act, the act of killing, has bad qualities. Okay? Extreme lobha, selfishness, extreme anger, dosa, and ignorance, not knowing or knowing things in the wrong way. So these are qualities that destroy one's character. They destroy one's virtue. And they make it so that one does not have good qualities. So in the world, mostly the world is as though boiling hot because of these qualities, which don't do us any good. So those who accept, who permit themselves to have extreme greed, hatred, delusion, who permit themselves to commit an act like killing, they no longer have sila. And if on top of this they do not have any mental control, then that means they have no samadhi. If they have no knowledge, then they have no paññā, or wisdom. And whatever such a person does will be strictly degrading, and nothing else. So only if one searches for a way to calm these things which cause us to become degraded, and only if one actually puts this method into practice, will one start to develop qualities. So with sila, when we undertake sila, then our pure behavior of the sila takes the place of lack of sila. So transgressive behaviors are being calmed by the qualities of sila. If one controls one's mind, then instead of the mind going here and there wherever it wants, that lack of control is being calmed. The mind becomes controlled. So the method for controlling the mind is the means for stilling the lack of control, for putting it out. And if knowledge arises, then this quells ignorance, this stops ignorance. So the word guna, in humans, it means ability or capability. And when we put it to use, then it appears. And what is bad, what is detrimental to us, disappears. So if we put these three words, ta, anga, and santi, together, it means the means of making calm that which is gross, like starting with transgressive behavior, all the things that are bad, making these calm with something good. So it means to make calm, make peaceful, using some good thing like sila, to make peaceful this gross behavior and all other bad, all other parts of what is considered bad. So these are just three words, ta, anga, and santi, but there is a lot of meaning in them. So this is the theory. In the world at large, most people can't assess their own situation. They don't know what they're really like. And in such people, mostly what happens is lobha, dosa, and moha, greed, hatred, and delusion. So there's ordinary wanting, and then there's extreme selfishness. There's anger, resentment, and so on, and not knowing. And all day long, people spend most of their time with this. So they don't know, they have no knowledge of defilements. They have no shame or fear about mental defilements or doing wrong. They have they don't understand that their mind is scattered. So there are many people in the world like this, and therefore the Buddha said, Papasamen ramati mano. So papasamen means things that are base, the kilesas of lobha, dosa, and moha. The mind delights in the kilesas, which are base. So, or you can say, a second translation, mano, the mind of most people. Ramati, delights. Papasamen, in behavior, which makes the person base, low, degraded. People delight in things like being angry, or lying, or having a lot of pleasures. So it's true. The whole world really is like this, delighting in these base things. Most people, although it is happening like this for them, they don't know about defilements. They have no shame about wrongdoing and no fear, no understanding about what happens when one transgresses. And so, not knowing, they do wrong. They say things which are wrong, and they think and plan things which are misdeeds. Therefore it's said, Papasamen ramati mano. The mind of most people delights in what is low and base. So you can think about this for yourself, whether it is true or not. And if the mind is delighting in things that are low and base, then it stands to reason one's life will be low. So only if one can struggle against this tendency of the mind with sila, samadhi, and panya, the three trainings, only then, and to the extent that one practices the trainings, will one be able to lift up one's life, keep it from falling down. So the practice the yogis are doing now is to pull our life up, to keep it from falling down. The Buddha gave the method, but it's up to us to struggle for ourselves. So look at the 5 precepts. There's the act of killing, stealing, taking what doesn't belong to us, adultery, lying, and abusing drugs, intoxicants. And these actions are not human actions. They're not related to humans. And if we transgress, if we commit these actions, then what's involved is not knowing that these are inhuman behaviors, not having any shame about doing them, not having any fear of the consequences, and no ability to feel for other people. Most humans are like this, delighting in the bad, papasamen ramati mano. If this is the case, then how can the world possibly be peaceful? So people don't search for a method to still these misdeeds, or they don't use the correct method, and so they don't get the results. So one has to search for the correct method. The Buddha made a division. He divided the kilesas into 3 grades. The gross transgressive form of kilesas, the ones that boil in our mind, the obsessive pariyotana kilesas, and the latent ones, which lie dormant, arising when the causes come to be. And for these three, he taught the three trainings. The training of sila sekha, overcomes the gross level of kilesas. The training of samadhi overcomes the obsessive kilesas, pariyotana kilesas. And the training of panya overcomes the latent ones. So the first grade of kilesas, transgressive ones, we overcome them by avoiding doing them. We refrain from doing them. This is called virati. So with sila, we refrain and we don't kill. We might still want to, but we don't do it. And we also don't steal. The tendency to want to may still be there, but we don't commit the act. We don't commit adultery. We don't lie for our own benefit or for others, and we don't use drugs and intoxicants, keeping the 5 precepts. So people avoid these actions either because they feel moral shame and moral fear, or they may avoid them because they feel consideration for others. But whether it's either way, one avoids committing these transgressions, and thus this base, gross behavior is calmed, is stilled. With what is it being stilled? It's being stilled, made calm and peaceful with sila. So the meaning of Tadanga is that this transgressive behavior, anga means this transgressive behavior that would be done if we didn't calm it, is being calmed, that is Santi, by means of sila. So this is the meaning of Tadanga, Santi. Committing ducharitas or misdeeds, starting with killing, is due to extreme lobha, greed, extreme dosa, anger, extreme moha, ignorance. One can see this. When an individual or a group is extremely selfish, they just want good things for themselves. So thus, it's obvious they have no concern for others. They have no loving kindness, no metta, no ability to put themselves in another person's place. And therefore, such people are able to kill and steal. As long as they get what they want, that is all that matters. They have no shame regarding doing misdeeds because they're driven by their lobha, no shame and no fear regarding their actions. So in such a person, there will be no calming of transgressive behavior. These behaviors won't become still. When one has extreme anger or dosa, then one will kill and harm others in many ways. One will act out of jealousy, envy, and so on. So such breaking sila, is violent behavior that it happens because of lack of moral shame and moral fear. But if one avoids transgressing because one understands that this is what one should do, one should avoid transgressing, then one controls oneself. And also, others are not harmed by oneself. And in this way, the transgressive kilesas are being stilled. So the yogis now, every second of the time, are keeping sila. And their physical and verbal behavior, every second of the time, is clean, it's calm, and it's peaceful. So because of keeping our relevant sila, the misdeeds, the actions such as killing, stealing and so on, which would take place if we weren't keeping sila, these actions, these misdeeds, these gross kilesas are being quelled, are being calmed down, are being made peaceful. So because of one's keeping sila, either due to moral shame, moral fear, or due to one's ability to understand how others feel, one achieves peace. One has Santi because of keeping sila. So who is it that possesses this Santi? One possesses Santi when one keeps sila. One possesses Santi because one is controlling one's acts, and at the same time the environment is not being harmed. And this in itself is very good. With extreme selfishness, no thought for others' welfare, no sympathy for others, one is overwhelmed by kilesas, and one commits various misdeeds, commits various acts of violence. And this is called vera, these misdeeds that one does. And it's translated as enemy, internal enemy. The word vera, the literal meaning is expressed as virupam gachatiti vero. It makes us deformed. It destroys our good human life to commit misdeeds. So it is called vera because it leads to this virupam. So it's called vera, or it can be translated as enemy, the enemy within. When one can't control this internal enemy of the tendency to do misdeeds, then there will be danger, baya. Fearsome things will arise. The first thing to be feared is what happens in one's own mind. One blames oneself. One realizes, oh, what I did was wrong. This act was the work of someone who didn't have any shame or fear. So one blames oneself. Later, one has regret regarding wrong that one does. And this is called attanuvara baya, the danger of self-blame. And one is also subject to criticism from those around one. Those around one look and see our lack of control when we've done something wrong, and then we receive their blame. And this is called paranuvara baya, the danger of criticism from others, especially the wise. And then the next danger that strikes us when our transgressions are extreme, then we can be subject to punishment by the law. And some crimes are punishable, of course, by death or jail. But even if we don't suffer that type of punishment, there's still the possibility of revenge by the party that was harmed. And this is called danda baya, the danger of retaliation. So these dangers arise when we can't control the internal enemy and when we commit transgressive acts. And involved in doing transgressive acts, the breaking of the 5 precepts, is bad intention. Our cetana is bad in doing such acts. And this bad cetana will bring us bad results even in this very life. So these are the dangers that arise when one lets the internal enemy multiply. So if one is free of this enemy, the internal enemies, being free of enemies, dangers disappear. When one keeps sila, then one is no longer committing transgressive kilesas, committing transgressive acts. So this type of enemy is being quelled. And the dangers that are connected with, when one keeps sila, the dangers that are connected with committing transgressions are stilled. They're made peaceful. So how good this is. And one can see for oneself how peaceful the world would be if everyone would take up sila. So Sayadaw will continue tomorrow to speak about Tadanga Santi. And today he has simply tried to give a basic overview. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.